What is up, fellas? Welcome back to episode 12 of Rise Up the podcast. We got a great one in store for you today. We have champion Jake Withers from the Waterdogs joining us on today's podcast. But fellas, we're back behind the computer, so there's change of pace. I miss you guys. It was good hanging out last week.
Dude, that was amazing. That was so fun. It blew away everything I think that we even thought was going to be possible. It exceeded that. So.
It kind of ruined this now for me. I don't get Scotty's Musk, via the computer now. It's the worst.
Musk.
Yeah.
It's called man.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I even came back, was talking to my girlfriend, talking to my buddies. They're like, how was it down there? I was like, you know what? Like, whatever expectations I had for the live show blew it out of the water. Like, I didn't nearly expect the crowd that would congregate around us and the amount of like rotating guests we had, all of them, different kind of cool niche in the sport. And it was fucking unbelievable.
I think we were all very
I
busy
agree. That was awesome.
maintaining expectations with each other. And then like even Danny, the one of our producers, was like, all right, we'll do like a 10-minute like intro and then we'll keep it casual. We'll just like randomly shoot here and there. If we get a guest coming over, we'll do. Instead, at 1:00, they open the fan zone and we see Captain Chaos walk in right away, dressed to the nines. We start interviewing him. An hour and 40 minutes later, they're like, all right, we got to cut it. The game's about to start. We didn't stop. It was awesome, man. We had people coming up left and right. We had kids fighting over each other to get over to the mic to talk to Scotty. It was great. I mean, hey, thank you to the PLL. We had a phenomenal spot right inside the fan zone. People weren't going to the fan zone. They were just stopping and standing by the cameras. My only wish moving forward would be that we have the fans behind us like College Game Day, because I don't think people have any clue how packed it was there. It was pretty sick. In fact, we actually didn't get a chance to get Mike Rabel on. I know he was trying to make his way over. So, that's it was a lot of fun, man. And then, they gave us the field passes. We got to be on the field, and it was cool for me, Scotty, just kind of reliving that energy of being in a stadium playing. That kind of got my fix a little bit. And then Torch Pro, what can we say? You guys, they lit it up for us. So it was a great experience, and I hope we can do it more often. I know we want to, starting next year.
Yeah, I think, Danny, just a big thing for me was getting to finally meet all the guys that do all the legwork for us, right? Like, this is a big, majority of the reason Greg and I did this, and we're freaking grateful you did this with us, is literally because of the production and the installation that we'd had. So, like, we knew we were taken care of, and we didn't know how much we were taken care of. This weekend, I was like, dude, this is unbelievable. We had all hands on deck. We had, founder there. We had, guys that are doing their own podcast there. I mean, it was like a family. And for me, that makes coming to work or doing this and growing this a lot easier. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. We're going to kick off more later on in the show about recap some of our highlights, some of our favorite moments. We talked about our boy, Captain Chaos. But before we get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Rowback. I'm rocking the Rowback cap right now. I played golf on Saturday out in Long Island. It was a little chilly in the morning. I had my nice Rowback quarter zip on. Make sure you guys get fitted out in some sweet Rowback gear. Use promo code RISEUP20 to get 20% off your Rowback Gitch. And then our other sponsor, Level Select CBD. It's formulated with premium CBD and complementary active ingredients to deliver results you can feel. Level Select produces their own premium quality CBD and can deliver the best products to you for the best prices. And it's backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. But we know you won't need that. Greg, you love this stuff. I just got one of those big packs of the sleep ones too.
Why? Why did you? And where did you get them from?
Good question. I paid for them and used promo code RISE20 for 20% off my order. And I've been sleeping like a baby. I'll tell you what, Sundays are my Super Bowl. I wake up in the morning. I play men's league. My men's league game is at noon. We lost in overtime. I'm still fucking pissed about it.
Good.
Then parlay that to the bars, watch the 1 p.m. slate, pretzel myself, walk home, order 20 Dan and John's hot boneless wings,
Pretzel.
Eat those, and then around 6:30, I popped 2 of the Level Select CBD chewies, and I was out by 7 p.m. and I didn't wake up till 7 a.m. And wow,
Yeah. For our of-age drinkers, do not bury yourself, pretzel yourself, then take CBD. Just go to bed. That's just a Daddy Team special. All right.
But if you do,
knocked me out like a light.
CBD will help you sleep. It's the CBD. CBD's in it, but it's the melatonin, and it's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. And Sibes, once again, man, just absolutely built for this. Built for these ads.
He's the best.
And also, we got on our show Jake Withers, like I mentioned at the top. PLL champion. Greg's got his face off and friendship shirts are on. That's what their relationship's built off of. But I know we're super excited to have him on later. But yeah, we touched upon kind of how thankful we were that the PLL rolled out the red carpet for us. Torch Pro, the production level, like you guys said, it felt like we were rolling up and doing an ESPN pregame show. They had the lights, they had the mics, they had everything set up. It was fucking top notch, man. We talked about it, Greg. What was your favorite part of the whole day?
Man, I got to tell you, the energy of the show as we got closer to game time, and it was just like an overwhelming amount of people that were surrounding the podcast when we were doing it live. I just love that people felt free, like in the fan zone in general, even the vendors, like just felt free to come over. The guys at Athletic Brewing just came over, just threw us a couple drinks, and then guys got Coors Light. They're handing them out to you guys. Whatever. It was just like a casual, fun time, and it was great because for Scotty and I, like being on this side of it, we're still getting used to this. I know for me, this show in general has given me a little bit of a fix to still be able to talk lacrosse and be involved with the professional level of the game without having to come home and explain to my wife how I hurt myself. I'm just grateful for it. But I think, the 2 things that stick out is, one, the fan zone, how many people were there, and how much support we have for this show, which is pretty awesome. I mean, pretty heartwarming in my opinion. The other part that was cool was just like being out on the field, seeing Paul, seeing Mike, them watching their baby. Just a lot of respect for that. So that was pretty cool. Scotty, how about you?
Agreed.
How about you, Scotty?
I enjoyed burying a couple pints up in the club section with the Barstool guys. I expected a lot more out of those guys drinking wise, and I felt like the alpha in that situation. But also, I think just be like Greg said, stepping on that field. I was talking to Paulie, before the game, we gave each other a hug, and I'm like, dude, the energy in this place, man, you can't replicate it. Once you step on the field, and like Greg said, we're still trying to shut that off. It's so hard to, but when you step on the field, you get the music going, you see the warm-ups going on, you're like, fuck, this is just, you miss it, man. It's such a unique setting, and I think they did a great job. Both sides of that stadium were full, dude. I mean, we listen, I give a lot of shit about attendance and butts and seats a lot. I definitely am one of those guys that I think it should be better. That was fucking awesome. That attendance was awesome.
Place was jumping. Was jumping.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, even the suite.
Mike Sowers. I mean, Mike Sowers fan section. What was that? 132 deep?
Yeah, it's nuts.
Joe Keeks, that guy said that the Sowers family biggest order, 130 tickets on top of his already 20 comp tickets. So the Sowers fam turned out. I think we had a couple of his cousins on before the show in the pregame out there. That was sweet. But yeah, I mean, you guys, you hit the nail on the head. I've only been to PLL games before at Gillette, which is a hard stadium to pack out. Full NFL size stadium. That Subaru Park down there in Chester, PA was perfect venue. That mix of the Philly fans, the South Jersey fans, and people travel from, I saw some Long Island kids running around. Such a good kind of hotbed to have it in, where there's people that draws people from, all those areas. And like you said, both sides were filled before the game when we were on the field, kind of checking out the sights and scenes. Greg was shaking hands, kissing babies. And it was just, the whole atmosphere, like you guys said. We had some awesome interviews before, during the show. What was your guys' favorite interview? Who'd you guys like the best that came on? Besides Captain Chaos, of course.
I mean, listen, I was the RJ, getting RJ on there, talking shop. He brings, listen, what he does, I bust his balls a lot. We bust each other's balls a lot. But listen, he what he brings to that game is something different, man. It's like, he's built a niche, he's built a fan base, right? Like he's built a fan. Like I remember Greg was talking about that feel. That feel happened when RJ was there with us, and that was an RJ bringing those kids love him, man. He's doing a great job with those vlogs, those videos, and obviously you could tell he's his own character in the show.
Yeah, RJ. What's beautiful about RJ is it's all authentic too. Like he has a camera on him, but he's being himself, and that's what's so cool about RJ. I loved the young buck who came on and had a lot to say about who he was picking, and he does
about Sowers not coaching because he had a game.
I think Sowers. I forget how he worded it. It was so abysmal wording, but he was like, I think he was a little too focused on the game too much to come to pro day and like care. I guess I don't know. And he's like, Blaze didn't care. Yeah. Blaze came and blah blah blah. And the best was like the no show. He's like, oh, I'm gonna put on the Waterdogs helmet. Nah, I'm gonna go with Chaos. Crazy.
That was great.
Freaking crazy.
That was cool. That was the first time I met RJ too, and I thought was cool was, we kind of talked about, how he started and, how he's really just been grinding and chipping away. Yeah. You said building his brand and building, the game of pro lacrosse alongside it and getting, eyes on his content that he pumps out. And there's no wonder why he's doing such a great job, getting the PLL out there.
Yeah, man. It was awesome.
We had a couple other great guests. I thought Dan from PLL Bets was great.
Dan is very, we got to get Dan on the actual show at some point because he's phenomenal.
Jordy, dude, I've never met Jordy besides just going back and forth. Jordy's a legitimate he's a lax guy. Like I thought it was just kind of like not, he's a guy that knows what he's talking about. He knows that he's a fan. Like he's a fan of the game. You could tell. And it's always great to have people that are just not doing it, that are outsiders, that are actually like, oh, I played, I coach, and they kind of know what goes into it. So it gets a little more respect, I know coming from a player perspective.
Here's what I notice about the PLL demographic fan-wise, which I feel like never caught on with the MLL, unless you're at like a Chesapeake game. You go to a Chesapeake game, they used to have the beer tent, and there would be people who aren't really watching the game, but there's like 20s and 30-somethings there. There is a definitively more older fan base in the PLL. And I think it's because what I was always saying in the MLL was like, you can't only cater to kids, right? Like, for instance, perfect example, social media. People are bitching and complaining because there's photos of the Waterdogs with cigars in their mouths. Oh, this isn't really good for young kids. Okay, I get it. I'm a father. My son saw the pictures.
Michael Jordan.
Jackson is not coming down the stairs smoking a cigar today. Okay? Every single athlete in every single freaking possible level, even the NCAA, is smoking a cigar because of celebration. I'm not a cigar guy, but God damn it. Can we stop with actually, Corey Bolkin had a phenomenal tweet. He said, I didn't see the part of the PLL contract where the players had to raise your kids. And that's exactly right. It doesn't mean we should be
hey man.
Doesn't mean you should be bad role models. You shouldn't be going out and like kicking squirrels. But at some point, we have to realize that we are trying to cater to an older. That's why the NLL does so well. Because the NLL caters to the hockey fan, not the young hockey fan only.
Just the hockey fan. But here's the deal, man. I've actually done this podcast without a chew in the whole season. And listen, I'm not telling your kid to throw smokeless tobacco in his mouth. But guess what? That's your job as a parent. My mom could yell at me. I'm 35 years old. These players are 22, 23, 24. Listen, man, this is a men's professional league. So for these guys to do that, I know we're role models. And listen, if someone showed up to a cigar doing a PLL Academy, you probably have a very good point. But you have a great point. But guess what? The guys just won a championship. Yeah. So let him live.
Look, man, honestly, this didn't go over well, this comment. But if you are on Twitter or Instagram and you are clutching your pearls over someone smoking a cigar in a lacrosse photo, you need to take it to Facebook. Okay, you're on the wrong platform. You need to hop on Facebook with your friends at the PTA meeting and go complain about shit, because that's what older people do. They go on Facebook and they complain in these long 7-paragraph messages. Tell me I'm wrong. That's why I'm not on Facebook anymore.
No, it's just,
sorry, man.
It's like these dads. Sibes, we were talking, Greg and I were joking, because a lot of our fan base actually was like probably 30-year-old dads, right? 32, 33. And they're like, dude, I was a huge fan of you. I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, fuck, we are old now. But that's literally, I had dads. Me and Greg would take pictures of these little kids, right? They're like probably 6. And they're like, dad's like, do you know who that is? And I'm like,
dude,
we had that one kid on in the Pat Tillman shirt. And I was like, how'd you first hear about Scotty? He was like, oh, my dad's a fan of Scotty.
I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, but that's like, so you start realizing now we're hitting a good demographic, because like I said, the myself, Greg, Kyle Harrison's, Paul, Hartzels, Joey Walters, those guys that are dads definitely were playing the game, men's league, doing stuff. Like they were fans of lacrosse.
Those were the dudes that were paying attention to the MLL. Which is very select.
Which is a good fan. Yeah. It's a good fan. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, man. Yeah, it was good. It was perfect.
Yeah, but shout out to all the other guests we had on too. We had your guys' boy Chuck Lott. I've never met him before. He was awesome to have on. He kind of kicked it off for us too.
Chuck's the best, dude.
Love that dude.
He brought the juice, picked us up really right off the bat. We needed him to kind of get us going a little bit. He was great.
Who's better to juice you up than the damn FanZone juice guy?
That's what
I mean, we had the best juice guy to think.
He's the man, dude. Him and
we had my boy Stelios come on.
There was a lot of families, of people we know that were there too. Toddy, and his wife were there up in the box. It was great talking to them. It was. That's the best part about this sport. It's interesting too. And you'll hear Wiz, like when we interview him. One of the things it's an underlying common denominator amongst lacrosse guys, or lacrosse in general, is most of us are just good dudes, and we might be playing on different teams. We might be on different sidelines. We might even fight each other on the field sometimes. At some point, we're going to end up on the same team or in the same locker room, because that's the way our sport is. And we're going to realize that the other dude's a good dude. And that's what I love about this. So going back to the championship game and getting to talk to some guys that we know just through the sport in general is just, it was a blast.
I mean, even Greg and I going on the field, running into Kyle and Joey, those are guys that's who we played with. So it's like the game keeps us together, man. The game keeps us together. You realize that now more than ever. Like I saw those guys, I was like, dude, this is awesome. We're like, it's like you're an alumni. We could talk about missing it, but the PLL is creating an alumni feel that I don't know if when we were in MLL, I didn't really feel like I was going to go run into Greg at a game. I was like, Greg's probably going to go make some money.
Yeah.
Like he's probably got his job. So it's just a better feel, the way they make us feel, and we're welcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think, Scotty, that's the big thing, is I think it was a worry of mine selfishly when the PLL started. The only worry was like, wow, like I know this means the MLL is going to be done. Are we going to combine these histories, or are we going to pretend like the MLL never existed? Are any of these numbers on my arm ever going to mean anything, or my memories? My memories is MLL going to fade away to like, oh, that was just men's league? And to Paul and Mike's credit, they have embraced it. So you see, like, for instance, I was saying for years in the MLL, there should be a professional Hall of Fame, and they've made it come to fruition. You have like the greatest players in the history of our sport are getting like gold jackets and being honored during game. Like, dude, this is what it's all about, man. And being back on that field, I did have a little bit of a sense of pride of like regardless of where we stand as far as the history of sport or any of that stuff, it was just like, man, I was a part of having this become to where it is now. And I know Mike and Paul drove the bus as far as making this league, but I mean, we stood on the shoulders of giants, and those kids are standing on our shoulders now, and I'm happy for them. And it's pretty cool.
It's a lot more stable. The foundation for them to stand is a lot more stable than when we got there. I didn't know.
Quick
I didn't know
run
how
through.
we were going to stand. Yeah, we were doing a lot there.
And on chopsticks.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like just to echo what these guys said, big shout out again. Thank you to PLL. They rolled out the red carpet for us. We were on the field pregame, hooked us up in that, VIP up top deck during the game. The spreads in there.
I gotta be honest.
Some
I think
good food.
up
I ate
there 'cause
well.
they didn't want Scotty. They didn't want me yelling at Matty Palin from the sideline. During the
I was going to talk to Blaze. I was going to talk to Blaze the whole game, probably. Blaze.
please, I don't know, man. You probably should have had that one.
Hey, Blaze, where you grabbing beers after the game? You get beers after the game? What are you doing?
Then we got back down on the field after the game. I thought what cracked my ass up. How many people jumped on the field to celebrate with the Waterdogs after
Dude,
the game?
that guy got smoked. I didn't know that video happened because I think we were all trying to move and try to beat the traffic. I was like, when I saw that clip that Danny sent, I was like, holy shit, he got tackled and then rolled.
Murked. And now he's got to explain himself to his parents. In the MLL, people did that with impunity. I remember our 2015 championship game at Kennesaw. They had maybe 4 people from a retirement home had security vests on. And after we won, all the players were throwing their shit in the air. We all got robbed blind. All these kids.
Dude, the whole locker, every time in Hempstead, I was convinced Maione let the guys rob us. I was like, Jesus, everyone's wallet's missing out of the equipment bag. I'm like, what?
Yeah, man. Hey, man, that's Hempstead, dog.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, we were right there. We were by the gate. We're ready to kind of skedaddle as soon as kind of the clock hit 0. And some kid who was sitting in the first row was like, yo, just stand there. So this person doesn't see. I'm like, dude, I'm walking away from it. Don't get me involved.
Seems.
Don't.
In fact,
So the kid jumped on. The kid jumped on.
Hey, give me a beer. I'll let you go.
There wasn't enough. There wasn't enough. It got to the point where someone was like, just get back out of there and nothing will happen. Some people, smartened up and were like, all right, we'll go back. But I saw some people run out there and they got to the middle of the field. They're like, now what do we do? They got to the point that most people
I will tell you, Symes, I will tell you one thing about Paul and Mike. That was addressed right away. I can tell you that will never happen again just because I know Mike Rabel. And Mike is going to make sure that's going to be a hard stop. That was the last fan streaking across the field you'll ever see in our
Yeah, in fact, actually, this is kind of a weird way to tell you guys this, but Scotty and I actually got offered to do security from now on for the PLL. So this is our last episode.
That's actually, I actually wish he was joking, but we might do it. And you know what?
Hey, office
would be a bad way to watch the game.
Linebacker, let's do it.
Get you guys some medium shirts. No one will be running on the field.
Yeah, I'll be security.
But guys, let's wrap up the recap of our live show. We've talked about how much of a blast it was, how much our expectations were blown out of the water. Anything else from you guys to wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an awesome time. And to be honest, I hope that we do it again next year. I know there's interest. The feedback's been pretty awesome of us doing it multiple times next year. Hopefully, I'd love to be honest. I'd love to do something like NCAA Final Four. I'd love to do opening weekend of the PLL. I'd love to do the All-Star break. I'm all for it.
Listen, at the end of the day, it comes down to, and we talked about this as a team, having other lacrosse podcasts kind of say, guys, you're doing a great job. We had those other programs on, and those guys were gracious enough to come on and talk shop. But they love what we're doing. Also, we love what they're doing. There's a mutual respect there. The only different thing we got here is obviously we got such a good-looking co-host in Sibes, and then we have me and Greg with this experience from playing so long. I think there's a unique opportunity here that we all know and we all believe in. So I think that's really important for us going forward.
Absolutely. You guys hit the nail on the head. With that does the recap for our live show. Like we said, we want to do this again, bring you more of us in person, interact with the fans. Thank you to all the fans who showed out and showed up and interacted with us and razzed us a little bit, especially Scotty, but it's all good fun. We love it. And with that, we're going to kick it over to our interview with PLL champion Jake Withers. Jake, thanks so much for jumping on the podcast today. Rise Up podcast fans, we got a treat for you. We have the new PLL champion face-off man for the Waterdogs, Jake Withers, joining us on today's podcast. Another treat for us. We really appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. So
Yeah, Jake, I was pumped for this interview, man, just because you're a blue collar kid, man. And I know all of us here are blue collar, so I know watching you play, I feel like you don't get sometimes the respect, and I know you don't give a shit, so it's actually kind of works to your favor. But I know that how good you are. We've been talking about it all season. Kind of bring your hard hat to every game and just grind the shit out of somebody else. And like for me, you always come out on top because I just feel like that's like a you thing. It's you versus them. What do you? Your identity as a face-off guy. What would you kind of shape it as?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to honestly my Canadian roots, and I know that sounds so cliche, but I think it's from not growing up being a specialist or a face-off man first and foremost, but just a all-around lacrosse player. So I've told this a million times on whenever I get the opportunity to speak about kind of my background and kind of how I envision myself as a player, especially in the outdoor game. It's like we all grew up being a lacrosse player first, and then as I grew up and as I started playing kind of at a higher level through college and now the pros and on the international level, like I fell kind of in that position where it was what was going to help my team be more successful. So I really kind of, it took me a few years, and Greg will be the first to tell you this. I still kind of remember like yesterday being on the campus at Ohio State, and some big muscular dude came walking through, and I'm like, who the fuck's this guy? And it really actually like helped kind of change how I approached the face-off dot, right? Where, at first it was always kind of like the most athletic player. Your coach would just kind of throw you out there on a cold Sunday morning in Oshawa, Ontario, wherever the hell we're playing, and now once kind of Greg came in and introduced that at Ohio State, I think it was my junior year. I've kind of taken that and really specialized in that craft, and made sure that I'm doing everything I can to put myself in a good position off the initial whistle to get the ball, but also not getting away from my Canadian roots and just really being a lacrosse player at the end of the day. And if the ball's on the ground or if my teammate needs me to sell it to make a play, then I'm going to do that to hopefully get the guys that are paid the big bucks to the ball.
100%.
So
yeah, I think a lot of if younger guys are listening to this, one of the things that always struck me about Jake was I had never met him before. He had played 2 years at Ohio State. You have a Division I guy who is having some success. And Coach Kesterer was actually the face-off coach at the time at Ohio State, and I met him. He's an absolute legend.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just an absolute awesome human being in our sport. And I met with him. We went over the Face-Off Academy system, and Jake had never met me, and he had no reason to trust me. But the first game of the season, his stance was totally different. He had completely dialed in all the things that Coach K went over with him in the offseason. And weren't you an All-American that year? You were Big Ten Specialist of the Year, I think, that year, weren't you?
Junior year, no. My senior year, I was the second teamer. There's this really good guy who was always the first teamer. I can never break the first team.
No, but I mean, that says a lot. If younger kids, because Jake and I, we both coach face-offs now for FOA, and one of the things that these kids need to understand is I'm glad that you had a great 7th grade game over there. And I'm glad you went 80% in your 7th grade game. But here's a guy who's playing at the highest possible level, and he was willing to do everything he needed to continue to get better. And that's that's remarkable. And that says a lot about you as a player, and I hope kids can get something from that.
Yeah. And
yeah, Jay, I mean, knowing we had Trevor on here earlier in the season here, and just asking that question, I feel like even as a goalie, there's a guy I look across the cage and I see, and I want to kind of turn it on a little more to play against that guy, almost like a rival. What do you feel like in this league? I notice you see everyone a lot. Who's the guy that you kind of get up to really go against? I mean, is everyone different, or is there someone specifically that gets you going a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, maybe to my own fault is, like, I'm kind of a real heady guy when it comes to like matchups and stuff. But I mean, you know this, Scotty, and obviously Greg being specialist guys, and Greg being a face-up guy as well, is matchups really play a huge role in kind of how the outcome of the game is going to be. And obviously, if you let it dictate it to that extent, then there's going to be guys that you have very good games against. There's going to be guys where you kind of have a shit day at the dot, and you got to try and kind of level that out. But I'm really excited almost when I get to play a guy like Trevor or a guy like Joey Nardella or even Farrell, actually, who's really coming into his own these past couple summers. I kind of have this mental crutch, I guess I'll call it, where like I like going against those guys, the kind of the upper echelon of the league when everyone's so good anyways, because I kind of have that mindset where it's like, fuck it. Like no one's expecting anything of me, and I can kind of go out and my back's already against the wall and I can literally just put my head down and swing. And if I don't do as well as, I would like to, then, nobody really had that expectation of me anyways. And if I do, then fuck yeah. So, like I said, it's almost to a fault sometimes, but it's a lot easier for me, exactly like you said, like to get up for those, more upper echelon guys. And I feel like those are the guys that I really, really respect, because they take the craft that I love and that has done so much for me as serious as I do. And at the same time, they're going to bring the best out of me, right? So it's a fucking dogfight from the first face-off till the last whistle. I can't say enough about those guys. Every time I'm out there, I'm just, fucking standing with the referees there 10 minutes before a game, going through the rules with Matty Palem. I'm just like looking at him in the eyes, being like, let's fucking go to work here.
Yeah.
I
agree with that. I mean, Matty, what do you think through that playoff run, right? How do you think Matty was? Was he pretty consistent?
He's been consistent the entire 3 years I've played, and I personally don't mind it. I don't know, I might differ from Greg here a little bit, but
from Greg,
But I find him hilarious. Anything else, like, he's just entertaining to me out there, right? And sometimes I'm ready to rip his head off, and sometimes he's ready to rip mine off. But I think we've got to a point now where me getting a little older and becoming, I guess, a veteran in the sport and in the PLL, we kind of have a mutual respect where he kind of knows when to kind of give me a break, and I obviously know when to give him a break. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
I think everybody loves Matty. I don't think that's the issue. Actually, what I will say, what I'm impressed with is, we made at least I talked a lot about guys that can get away with certain shit because of the way Matty officiates. You're somebody, and this comes down to being a veteran, right? And Scotty had asked a great question about, do you circle a particular matchup? I think when we're younger, we circle matchups because we want to rise to the occasion of that person.
Mm-hmm.
As we continue to become what you're saying, a vet, it becomes more about your unit and what you can expose and what you can create together, rather than looking at it as an island on a one-on-one. And I see that in your game absolutely over the last couple of years. But the way Matty lets things go, the way Matty, is crazy out there when he officiates this thing, instead of pouting about it or throwing your gloves up, you did what most of us have to do in order to become at the top of the game in the professional level, and that is adapt to the officiating. And if you can't do that, you can't stay in professional lacrosse as a face-off guy. And I think that showed in the championship game especially. You're like, look, if you're going to let Adler do all this shit, to Matty's credit, he lets everybody do everything. So you were just like, I'm going to do the same shit. I'm going to take away whatever this guy's advantage is that he's getting away with, and I'm going to nullify it. And you had a beautiful game plan. I mean, the championship game, one of the reasons you're on here, you absolutely crushed it. And, tell us about the game plan going into the championship game, or even in the playoff run, and how you guys work together throughout that.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head there. And I think, it's very, very easy for me, especially having two of my fellow countrymen on the wing with me. And obviously, Zach Currier being not only one of the best wing guys, but one of the best just lacrosse players in the entire world. And then obviously Rylan Reese, who I hold up in that top three kind of category of LSMs as well. So it's something that makes, week after week very, very easily for us, especially having, Coach Cope at the helm, where he's very, very knowledgeable, and he's very, very good at managing, us pro guys, where, some coaches may overcoach or undercoach. Like, he has a great balance of, just kind of trusting us when he kind of feels like things are, maybe going off the rails a little bit, which is very easy to happen with me and Zach. He obviously, kind of corrals us back in there, but he really gives us kind of that freedom to game plan on our own. He'll obviously check in here and there and make sure everything's going well, but he really trusts us to go there and do our job, which I think that we've done over the past 3 years to get us to kind of that pinnacle of the championship game. Being, like you said, Greg, trying to become a little more of a veteran and a little more professional and not really looking at it as much as that kind of one-on-one battle, which, a casual spectator, I'll say, kind of does, right? Like when people see that, I always say it too. And with goalies as well, Scotty, it's like, it's very easy to quantify a good performance from a bad one because everything we do comes down to statistics, right? So sometimes when I feel like I have a good game, I might go a couple under 50%, but at the same time, we got 6 turnovers the 10 seconds after they got the possession, or we had 2 goals off of an early offense play or something like that, right? Where over the course of a game, that's going to really kind of change the flow and everything. So that was, back to your original question, Greg, like that was really kind of the big key going against Adler and a very good chaos face-off unit. Costabile is having a career year. I've always loved that guy since I was 10 years old watching him win the national championship against I won't name who, but and he had a great year.
Yeah,
and
that was an awesome day.
Yeah, just kind of neutralizing him, getting that ball on the ground and letting us kind of do what makes us successful, and then pushing it and making them pay in early offense, which I think we did. I think we had two goals in it, and then at least 3 or 4 really good situations where we generated offense. And I just felt like we didn't even neutralize that position. We definitely had the advantage, and it definitely paid off down the stretch, winning that.
Tell us more about that the championship game, because the Chaos jumped out and punched you guys right in the face, right? Or was there something said in a huddle or like a key turning point? Because there was we were there, we could feel the momentum shift. Like at first, as soon as that 2 bomb got switched to a 1, it was like, oh, okay, now like they're back in it. You guys scored. Like, tell us a little bit more about that kind of change of the ebb and flow of the game.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like that was, I'd be lying to tell you if I wasn't like, holy fuck, like right, like when they banged that 2 bomb to go up 4-zip. So I was walking out there and I didn't know if they were going to challenge it or not. To me, it looked good. And then once they did, and you kind of stand out there just kind of waiting for the call to go. And once they changed it to a 1-pointer. I exactly like you said, I was like, you know what, that we're not in too deep of a hole here. Let's just, win this next one, kind of get in a rhythm and a flow here and go from there. So the one thing about Cope, and, I've had a lot of great coaches over my, short tenure, I guess, or decently sized tenure now of playing professional lacrosse. And he's if not the top, he's definitely in the top 2 of my favorite coaches and my favorite people that I've ever, been able to meet in the sport. And he's just such a great speaker, and he doesn't bullshit nothing, but at the same time, he does it in a way that motivates you, never, kind of a never die attitude. So once we got that first goal after they called the 2 back, we knew we were going to be all right, and we chipped away, and we got back to even at halftime there. And D-Nap, who I think both you guys may have had the opportunity to play with, is.
Oh, I texted him right after the game, buddy. One of my favorite teammates.
Yeah, I mean, everyone I've talked to says the same thing, and it's for good reason. That guy's a fucking warrior and just a great guy.
Unbelievable.
So he's a man of many words at times, but a man of very few when he needs to be. And I probably circulated the Instagram there a few times, but he literally just said, "Let's go fucking win this thing." And right then and there, I knew we were going to win that championship. So,
yeah. I mean, Jake, the big thing for me, dude, is like I think if there was one team that could give that Chaos team similar DNA, right? I don't like to just say Canadian. I think the grit, I think the coaches are similar. I think you guys both respond to your motivation from your coaches pretty well. I thought that was going to be a close one the whole time. But if there was one team that could beat them at their own kind of game, it has to be you guys, just because, like you said, you got Curry, you got some Northmen up there. I mean, you got Wardo back there who, I knew coming off the NLL, he's definitely feel like some of the Chaos guys in the 6s. Like, it takes a minute. Like, we were talking about it all season on the pod. It's going to take a minute to come from that NLL. You guys play, it's a whole different game, and you're playing it for months. So to come in and just say, do your thing, and I knew Wardo was fine, but I think Wardo got into his groove right at the perfect time, and having that like confidence in you and him lets McCardle, Sowers, and those guys do their thing. So, do you feel like that similar identity? You guys are very similar, but you know how to handle that Canadian presence on the Chaos.
Yeah,
correct?
of course. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. When like I feel, and maybe I'm biased, obviously, because I am a face-off guy, and I love the specialists. I love Wardo very, very dearly. Like, I think if you look back right over the show, even back to the MLL days, like a lot of the successful teams, the ones that have kind of the pillars in net and the pillars up the middle, right? And you really kind of take that that pressure off your prima donnas, I guess you'll call them up front, who score the goals.
You could still call them.
Yeah, just do their job, and we're going to stop. Wardo's going to stop the ball. Our D's going to make the stops they need to, and then we'll get you the ball at the dot when we need to, those timely situations. So and Cope, we obviously had a rocky start in the bubble, and kind of come together last year. I thought we got to the playoffs. Obviously got the number 1 seed, and it sucks to say, but I think we were kind of like, like, we've arrived and we're happy that we're here, right? And we kind of went to that Whips game last year with that mentality, and it obviously bit us in the ass. Yeah. And this time around, I think we were kind of like, what? We've arrived, we're here, but we're not even fucking close to being done. And that was kind of where we turned that corner. I don't want to obviously speak on behalf of the rest of the league, but I feel like a lot of teams, maybe every team but ourselves, who was in that position where, our road was through the Atlas and then through the Whips. They're like, I wish we were on the other side, where for us, I think we're the only team that really looked at it and said, these are the matchups that we kind of prefer, right? Like we're the team that was really built to kind of derail or beat the kind of young, exciting Atlas guys with the juggernaut at the X with Trev, obviously, and then obviously derail the 3-time, 2-time champs and the 3-time finalists Whip Snake. So,
I mean, dude, you hit it right there. I think you reminded us. I think you guys last year reminded me of the Atlas. This year, kind of, like the way they're kind of young pups. The offense is booming, right? They get some good stops. They got good face-offs. But that moment, I think it takes experience, right? And you guys knew you had the talent to come back and run it back, but you ran through 2 absolute juggernauts, which going into a championship game, I know the Chaos had tons of they create their own, everyone hates us 2%, but you guys know
those numbers.
Like you ran
convinced Andy Towers plants those numbers.
Yeah. Because you guys at the end of the day, it's like, they're riding a hot streak. We just ran through 2 juggernauts, 2 of the best teams in the league. Yeah. So the confidence had to be there, right?
And again, credit to Cope. Like, we're sitting there about to go out, right? And he literally just kind of, looked around. He's like, we hear all this shit where we're the favorites, or, that we're the team to beat at this point in the championship, this and that, whatever fucking narratives the lax sports that or whatever wanted to put out there, even the betting lines, I think we were the favorites, right? And he's like, we literally aren't. Like, if you guys feel that way, then I've done you guys a disservice. Like, they're the reigning champs. Like, I don't care if they're 2 or 8 or 10-0. Like, they're the ones with the championship rings on right now. So, like, this is our game to go out and beat the champions. And I really felt like we didn't actually come out the first 5 with that mentality, and it took them kind of kicking us in the nuts to kind of wake us up and be like, yeah, you know what, they're the real fucking deal here.
Yeah,
no, that's such a good point. I kind of want to ask a little bit more about the post championship. What was it like? You guys going to Philly? How'd you guys celebrate?
I mean, the PLL did a great fucking job, man. The whole venue, everything, like the amount of fans there. The whole sideline was packed. I saw you guys over there at one point, and they brought a lot of high profile people into the game, and it was just like my mom and dad made the drive down from Peterborough that morning. It was 9 hours, the first PLL game they ever got the opportunity to go to. So it was obviously a special day for me. But my dad's a very avid lacrosse fan. Obviously, he loves watching my games. He still brings up my first MLL game, actually, from 2017, where I guess I had my best numbers ever, and they never statted it properly. And he'll still bring it up.
Oh, dude, they probably didn't even have. Yeah.
So he's a dad like that. Like, he'll never ever give me any criticism, but he just loves that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, making sure I get my due diligence or what's I guess earned. But
that's a face-off dad right there.
Exactly right there.
I love that
but anyways, no.
Did he have a couple? Hey, did he have a couple pints?
No, he doesn't drink at all. Believe it or not.
All
Yeah.
right. So it was pure joy. It was pure joy.
My mom's the drinker, so
There you go.
no, and he's still like he's been to national championship, he's been to world championships, all that. And he's like that was one of the coolest environments and games like he's ever been to, and that's just a credit to the PLL and what they're building. I absolutely love what they're doing for the outdoor game, and yeah, the post game. We went back. I mean, we had our fun in the locker room there with the cigars and the cigarettes and all that stuff, and then we took it back to the hotel, and they had a PLL post game party at I forget what the place was called. It was right on the water. We walked up and there was a bunch of fireworks and stuff. I don't know if that was for us, but it was definitely a nice touch. Even if
it worked out. It worked out well.
Yeah, it worked out
wasn't in
perfectly.
Chester, was it? It was in Philly.
It was in
Philly.
What's that, sorry?
You guys went down to Philly, right? You didn't party in Chester.
No, we did not. I was like, I mean, I like where the arena was, and that Chris Sabia, who's a Philly guy.
Of course you do. You're a gritty bastard.
Yeah, who's a Philly guy. I was like, this is Chester, man. Like, we don't want to be around here after dark. So
correct.
Chester and Peterborough, it's pretty similar. It's like Levittown, where I'm from.
Well, I was gonna say Springfield, where we practice there. Where I think that's where you're from, right, Greg?
You guys practiced in Springfield?
Yeah, we did. And we were driving through. I was like, this is a nice blue-collar town here. And I'm pretty sure this is where Greg's from. And then we rolled up to the high school and it's just beautiful big turf field. And I was like, maybe it's not as blue-collar.
No Greg B. Shrine?
No, I said, that's what
you want to hear something fun?
There you go. Not
hear something
yet.
fun? That high school is brand new. You know the parking lot? That was my high school.
Okay, that makes sense.
They just finished that last year.
You can thank Facebook.
Turf you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's not like playing in fucking Hammertown. When I was playing my first 3 years pro, I was in Hamilton. Yeah. We were playing at Burlington University.
The good old Nationals. No, you're probably playing at McMaster.
Shit. McMaster, that was it. Holy shit. I would get Pita Pit every game. They give us like $10. Pita Pit, right to the game.
Who was your owner, Kurt? Kurt Stiers? Was he your owner?
Kurt Stiers was the owner. No booze the last 2 years. Took it all out of the locker room. Yeah. Guys were like, fuck, man. We can't even get a slice of pizza.
Yo, true story about that. We went and played at Hamilton around like 12 p.m. on a Friday or some shit.
Yeah.
There was a guy in the stands.
A guy.
There was
I could hear the fucking – dude, fucking the announcers, you would hear – You could hear the announcers, Greg. You would hear the announcers go, well, Rogers should have saved that ball. And I'm like, fucking.
Yo, they didn't even have the mics on. The announcer was just saying it to himself in a booth.
That's good shit.
That was tough. So you guys got, what'd you get, $400 Cash App payout for to party with after that game?
Party money? We got $2,300 actually each person. Then Mikey got another $5. Yeah, so that's what I was like. They did it right, man. Like it was great. The whole night we went. They had a nice spread with buffet line, all the friends and family you could ask for, and then
Jake, that was 2 fucking game checks in the MLL.
Yeah, I mean that's
the fucking cash app.
That's a little less than one now. I think I don't know what I make specifically, but I know some of the guys will be making like 4 game. I'm pretty sure. I don't know, but maybe Greg definitely his first year. I'd like to know what that was like.
Yeah, Greg won't come out for less than triple 6 digits.
What, in the MLL? The year that I won MVP of the MLL, I was paid $12,000.
Jesus.
And I spent about $15,000 on Warrior OG blades on eBay. So I was about $3,000 in the hole the year I won the MVP award. Things have changed.
Yeah, that's a fucking grind. That was a grind, dude. Yeah. I'm actually, Jake, that's actually a good thing. I'm pumped that you, like, even like Kincannon, some of those young guys like that your age that got to play in that and experience, like, because some of these rookies now, man, they're like, fuck,
they don't know.
Give me $50,000. Give me $50,000. Oh yeah, I made 6 after taxes. You're like,
they got it so good now. Like, right out of college, and don't get me wrong, I thought I was like, this is the greatest fucking year of my life. I went right to the MLL. I think I played 8 games and made like $6,000. I thought I was rich, and then right to NLL. I lived in Market in Rochester, which for most people hate, but I was like, I'm out on my own. They're paying for it. I'm making another $10,000 on top of that. I'm like, this is the life. And now I think back, I can't even fucking imagine I made $25,000 right out of college. Like, Jesus.
Dude, I'd be like, holy
So,
shit.
but
Yeah.
I,
Pretty
I heard
unbelievable.
the Barstool guys sent you some money too. Is that true?
yeah, I think they sent $1,000. I'm pretty sure. So I don't get involved in that. Like I just kept going to Mikey, being like, "Buy me drinks. You got $5K."
Yo, so on top of that, tell me about, because it's been, I feel like we were talking about it right before we got into the playoffs, and I was talking about how it's like almost unfair that as fans, people haven't gotten to see full season of full speed Mikey Sowers healthy in the PLL, as well as a Grant Ament full speed healthy in the PLL. Like, tell me what it's like, what the difference for your offense is when Mikey Sowers is healthy and able to be Mikey Sowers.
It just adds such a different dynamic, man. Like some of these guys, and I mean, watching a lot of guys, like in the league, it's like holy shit! Every single game, like the moves they pull, and you know how fast they are, their change of direction, and all that stuff, how accurate they are with their shooting. He's just on another level, right? Like it just completely like the way he can torch some of the best fucking defenders in the entire world. Like literally put them on an island. He's going one way, they're still running 4 steps the other.
He reminds you of fucking Jordan Wolf. Remember when Jordan Wolf used to get the end line whistle and just boop, right? Like that's Sowers, man. He'll fucking dice him
exactly.
up.
It also adds that the biggest thing that I noticed, right, is it obviously takes a lot of pressure off a lot of the other guys too. When it's their time to go, it's their time to, like, he's a juggernaut where he has such a high workload for even some of the stuff, like some of the injuries and stuff that he has been going through over the past few years and stuff behind the scenes that nobody even really knows. Like he is a fucking warrior, that kid. And you know, it the biggest thing that I thought was it just the dynamic of him being able to give him the ball with, you know, under 12 seconds and still having a very, very good opportunity to either A, create offense or B, score on his own. It can completely change the course of the game. Like that one goal he scored on Blaze there, where I think he dodged with like 4 seconds left from the end line, somehow got a shot off and went 5-hole to go up, I think, by a goal or two. Like that was a big fucking goal. And that is really like his kind of never quit mentality. Like I'm going to, you know, take this ball and either run through you or you know, do a quick spin or change direction as fast as humanly possible and then dive across kind of fearlessly. Like that really adds a big dynamic to our offense and allows us to generate offense where a lot of teams in the entire league would not be able to do that, right? Like they'd be rolling the ball in the corner where we're still getting opportunities with 1 or 2 seconds left.
That's such a good point you make too. I mean, you say dodge fearlessly. Like he puts his body on the line. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He goes right into the defense. And you see it too, which is what I love about your guys' team. Like he'll go through and he'll get punished. You know, he'll pay the price. But then you got guys like Mercado and Currier coming right up to back him up, like going right up into the face.
Well, I mean, Seems nobody knows. Like I know Currier's a tough guy. I mean, Currier's a tough fuck. But I mean, nobody really knows Kieran, right? Because I've known Kieran for a while. Kieran's a scrappy fucking guy. Like, yeah, I watched him in indoor. Somebody hit him late, and I'm like, dude, this is the one spot when I played indoor, they tried to make me an enforcer. I was like, fucking, I like a 5'5" Canadian guy be like, come on, you big bitch, drop the mitts. I was like, Jesus Christ. Kieran's like, what? Like, holy shit.
Kieran will put you to sleep, man.
Yeah, the funny story about Kieran, actually, like me and Zach, obviously our first couple years in the NLL, I took that summer off the MLL, and obviously I didn't know him pre-Waterdogs, right? So I had two winners playing against him. I played against him for a summer when he was up in Oakville in the MSL. And me, him, and Zach, like we would always fucking go at each other. Like I was on the verge of fighting him like 6 or 7 times. I think him and Zach actually almost went at it the one game. And then we obviously came and played in the bubble together. Got along very well. Like Kieran's one of my best buddies now. You know, a veteran guy who I just like. He's one of my favorite guys that I watched be able to kind of hoist the trophy and just see the joy in his face because he deserved it. But we battled. We were together 21 days there in the bubble, and I think it was day 4 we were practicing. You know, we were kind of getting settled into each other, and just out of the blue we had a bad practice. He's the first guy to kind of speak up, and you know, being a face-off guy, I try and jump into as many drills as possible. For the most part, we're doing our own thing and kind of wandering around. And I got in for a D shift on some drill, whatever it was, and there's a little kind of scuffle, and I'm kind of in there just, you know, making sure nothing's going on. I turn, and he just punches me right in the face. Out of the blue, just socks me in the face. And I turned to him, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding?" So I hit him back, and we're there jostling around, and like that's really like him in a nutshell. Like he's honestly a fearless competitor who I respect so much because he's where a lot of these American guys who come and play box, like it's kind of a culture shock where he really embraced it and he's just a motherfucker at heart. And that's really why
dude.
And it's a testament to our entire locker room there. It's like, it's just a bunch of motherfuckers. So, I mean,
that's a great, you know what? I don't care if it's, we could cuss. This is our podcast. That's the best way to put your team. Best way to put it. That's the best way you could describe your guys on your team. You fucking no back down. That's what I'm saying. The chaos, those guys are motherfuckers, but they're a little like Showtime. You know what I mean? They're Showtime. You guys are more like nitty gritty. Like
that.
Well, yeah,
they'll be okay.
I won't comment on that, but I will say they're Showtime. And
I won't go. They're Showtime. Blaze is my guy. Blaze isn't Showtime. Blaze is fine.
I bet you Blaze can chuck him though.
Yeah, Blaze makes enough money now. He probably is Showtime. Yeah. Probably makes about $100K, dude.
I mean, with both leagues, I'd say that guy's pushing almost 150.
Oh yeah, he's doing well, dude. Philly, yeah, he's doing well. So, dude, real quick, just going in from how is that? Because that's when we get like Tommy on here, Shribes, we were talking about going from box into this season. When's are you going to take a little bit off? What do you have? Like a month, 2 months before?
Yeah, well, usually, I mean, if you don't make the playoffs, then you're basically have 2 weeks off, and you go or a first round departure like we had this season. You're basically 2 weeks off and right into an 8-day training camp for PLL. And then at the end of it, if you go all the way to the championship like we just did, we have 6 weeks off now. And then we hit the ground running again in October or the first week of November. But with that said, like you see these USA guys who you guys are insane with your training camps. Thankfully, we're not as crazy like that with the Canadian team. But we have our tryouts the middle of October. So realistically, you have, I mean, any given year at the most probably a month off. And then you're right back into it. So it is tough, especially if hopefully we can play indoor in the summer again. Like you're playing fucking minimum 3 games a week there. So,
yeah, and you're in Halifax, right?
I'm in Halifax in indoor, yeah, in the NLL. So,
what is Halifax like?
I'd say it's like a very, very small version of Boston. So. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Europe or anything, but it's like very low key. Everyone loves drinking and kind of relaxing, very slow moving. Like you can get from one end of the city to the other in 10 minutes on rush hour on any given morning. So good.
You touched on it, Jake. You said hopefully you guys will be able to play in the summer again. What is like the temperature on that? Like you guys trying to push for that still, or what's good with that? I know some guys this year you said I'm playing up north. I'm not playing PLL. What's good with that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe after this year, now that I have a championship and a few of us other indoor guys do, like the MSL guys, the summer indoor guys, maybe we'll be able to get a little more conversation going. But nobody really gives a shit unless your name's kind of Lyle Thompson or those guys, in my opinion, right? Like I'm just kind of speaking from my perspective, but I'm hoping that Lyle at least tries to get some dialogue going, because I know once 2 days after he was out, he was up there playing. I was watching him in the Mem Center down the road here playing for Peterborough. He was on the IR the whole summer, so he was able to play. But no, I get it from their standpoint, the insurance and all that stuff, and trying to legitimize it. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to make ends meet here. You guys both obviously know what that's like doing it in lacrosse, and any source of income I can get for my growing family now, I guess, and my wife and my baby that's on the way is something that I need to explore, and it's something that I hope we can kind of come to an agreement with, even if it's playing the least amount of games possible over the season, just to make sure you can play for playoffs and Mann Cup, and then you see kind of how that works out. But I was always kind of PLL first, and then that secondary, and them kind of taking that option away from me as a full-grown man, that really kind of pissed me off. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's definitely a very tough situation for both sides, and I hope something can get done where it makes everything.
Jake, Greg, I know you're trying to get one in. I'm so fascinated about I know from playing with those guys in Hamilton how like Jammer, Joey Walters would come from a night game on Friday, miss shoot around, and get they got a bag of cash, bro. Like I would miss shoot around too for a bag of cash, and then they're playing for cash. I mean, there's no tax on it.
God, I
When
hope the
you're trying to
IRS
make
isn't
ends
watching
meet,
this.
What's that?
Now, Walter's
yeah, it's all
gonna get
good.
a phone call.
It's all good.
I
Good.
can't speak on Six Nations.
Yeah, you can't speak. Don't speak on compensation.
on how they do it in Six Nations. But I mean, I know some guys are very well compensated, and we also are very like us in Six Nations kind of keep the league afloat attendance wise. We're obviously like usually I think it's the last 8 years we've been in the finals, and one of us have either been in the Mann Cup or won it. So we're definitely kind of the pinnacle of the MSL up here, and that's kind of changing with the young guys. But yeah, I mean. The Laker organization treat us very well, especially as our hometown guys. They pay us well for our travel. Is how we get paid. And
yeah, I mean that's what suits. I used to roommate with Suter. He used to say it was everything was good.
Yeah,
there.
so I mean, and that aside, like it's just something that you grow up like. It made me fall in love with the game, and it was something that pro lacrosse and even international playing for Team Canada's side, like that was my dream when I was 8 years old. Walking around the Mem Center parking lot between periods, getting autographs so these guys have their intermission beer and cigarette. So you know what I mean? Like they're my idols, and
Unreal.
it's something that like I just like I said as a full grown man that should be my decision to make if it's good for me to play or not. But at the end of the day, the world is changing, and there's definitely legal issues that get in the way of that. So hopefully we can come to an agreement somehow.
Yes, sir.
Well, aside from the fact that I'm offended that I didn't know that you had a baby on the way until just now.
Yeah, sorry.
When is your wife due?
She's due in March.
All right.
Oh yeah, congratulations.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, I
so
appreciate
awesome.
that. So
That's awesome.
yeah, times are changing, right? So like I was saying, I was kind of jokingly all summer telling the guys like this might be my last go around with the summer ball PLL stuff. You're like, oh, come on, you don't mean that. And I'm like, no, every weekend I'd come and I'd make the same joke, and they'd be like, fuck off. And then we won there, and everyone kept yelling, he's retiring. But I'm like, I got to come back now, right? Like,
man.
And the title, you got it.
Yeah. So ours to lose.
Well, Jake, it's been a pleasure having you on, man. This was such a cool conversation. Congrats again on the championship. Congrats again on your newborn coming along the way. Guys, do we have any last questions we want to take it out with?
I got them all out, man. I appreciate it.
No, I just awesome run, dude. Great job. Really happy for you, man, as a friend and as a fan of the game. It was awesome watching you guys do your thing live. So congratulations, brother. Couldn't be happier for you.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thank you.
Yeah, Jake.
Jake, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it.
Yeah, no problem.
Everybody, welcome back. Thanks again to Jake Withers for coming on. I mean, what a guy. He's unreal, dude. That was great having him on. He gave us a look under the hood with a lot more than just the PLL celebration, and I thank him for that. That kid's good shit. But with that being said, we're going to recap the game quick, and then we're going to tell you guys a little bit about what our plans are moving forward for this show. Quickly, you guys know we had boots on the ground for that championship game. We saw it live and up front. Waterdogs beat the Chaos 11-9. I'll start with you, Greg. What do you think the key to that victory was for the Waterdogs? We talked a little bit with Jake, but I want to hear your side.
I think there's a couple of things that stood out. One, I'm glad that Wiz brought up Copeland as the head coach. We're talking when he got that job a few years ago, I was ecstatic. He is a phenomenal guy. He's been a great college coach, and he has proven, like Wiz said, there's some guys who come out of the college game and they don't know how to manage men. And Copeland is absolutely one of the coaches that knows how to do that. So I am over the top happy for that guy. I think what was really impressive is the Waterdogs got punched in the mouth by a team that has been there before, and they took the shot, and then they fought back, and they were cool and calm and collected. Jake Withers, completely dominant face-off performance. That entire unit as a whole, even when Adler would win a clamp and pop it through his legs, Wiz would force him to do that, and it played right into their hands, and they would eat up the ground ball. They scored off of opportunities. I personally, nothing against Michael Sowers, who I think is incredible. Wardo was my MVP of this game. I thought he was the key factor, coming way out, stopping these balls we had talked about in the pregame. Him being the Canadian goaltender, does that help him going against this particular unit of players that he knows so well? And I thought he played out of his freaking mind. And I think the Waterdogs really just clamped it down and got the job done against a team that once they got past that semifinal, everyone was kind of like, are they going to do it again? So yeah, nothing but huge praise for the Waterdogs team getting that done.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing was Greg touched on it, the goaltending, right? I thought there was a familiar. I can't say the word. He was familiar with the shooters.
Familiarity.
Ceramics. I took ceramics in Notre Dame, boys, and I took that melatonin a little early. All right. So him knowing those shooters from box, playing with those guys in the world team, in the world tryouts, world team, practicing against those guys. Listen, you've seen him before, right? He's seen those guys finish. Nothing was going to kind of take him off guard. I thought he played really well. He did his thing with the high angle play as a goalie. I'm not going to get too specific, but there's guys that stay back on their heels. He's the guy that challenges and plays angles. So it's really tough to put the ball by him if you don't make him move. So like he literally plays so far out that he'll scare a shooter to shoot it before they really want to. So I think he did that and he executed great. Now the rope unit, we talked about that last week, how that was going to be a pretty important part of the game. Those guys, at the end of the day, Courier is a beast, bro. I mean, he's a beast. And like I said, he's a switchblade, utility knife. The guy can do it all. But then you have, listen, man, that defense not too shabby. Listen, those guys, Sabia.
Yeah, we talked
Liam
about
Byrne.
that in the semifinal win. How well they were on the hands of cutters all the time.
Yep.
And that was evident again and not just the hands, but on the right side of their man, right? They're on the right side of the man, checking in the right spot rather than reaching. That was impressive.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally. And it's so funny. You just jogged my memory, Scotty. Our boy Joe Keegan sent out a tweet after the game, and it was like one of those like diagrams you see in like a third grade science book, and it said like the stratosphere, the mesosphere, whatever sphere, and the furthest one out it said Dylan Ward's arc.
He said arc. Yeah, you listen, and Joe, I love Joe, and I love Joe a lot more after getting to talk to him, meet him. You gotta respect that nerdism, right? That lacrosse nerdism is something that you really can't. I know it as a goalie for a spectator like him to know that high arc play. That's pretty impressive stuff, dude. Because that's like in our language. Nobody talks about that.
But the thing is, with the high arc, you see, especially like as a shooter for the fans at home. If you catch a ball and you're staring down, the barrel of the net, and the goalie's coming out, especially a goalie as big as Dylan Ward, standing on top of the crease, you see zero cage. You don't see.
We call him the spider. We call him the spider. Like
you just got to
shoot amongst goalies in our craft. We have like a little fraternity, right? So we all have different styles, different things we do. He is known as playing wide. Very wide, very wiry, he just takes up so much net. So he almost plays box goalie outside, like outdoors. But here's the thing. Now I'll tell you how to beat it. I don't want to get too far into it because I know we're running a late one here. But all you have to do is skip that ball to the back pipe. Now, what you said they did do a good job is staying on hands on cutters, because how you beat a high arc goalie is that back pipe's always open because he has to go from back, and that's a wide open net. So if you move that ball diagonally and cross crease, you could beat that. But what teams do in our game is they just have so much ego and pride. They shoot the ball. They shoot it from 15. You're looking at a guy 15 yards away, and he's got the angle. So, I mean, Dylan does a great job, dude. I mean, he does a great job in that setting.
Yeah, and like you guys said, we touched upon all the kind of keys to that game, and congratulations to the Waterdogs, new champion in the PLL. I think it's great for the league having a new team hoist a trophy. The league's first expansion team, kind of with that monkey on their back at times, and they're the team to beat. They're the champions.
Yeah, and they've gotten progressively better every single year. Like every year of their existence, right? The bubble, tough go. The following year, and then the next year, and every single year they've gotten better. So, this is a young nucleus too, man.
Absolutely. And with that, we can, transition to, our future plans with the show moving forward. Now we're out of the PLL season, but that doesn't mean you guys get rid of us. We're going to switch to a bi-weekly format from here on till the new year, I believe. We're going to do some previews of, way too far and ahead previews of how teams are looking next year. We're going to touch upon this new era of PLL player movement with salary caps. We're going to maybe dive into the NOL a little bit once that season kicks off. And then I'm pumped to, after the new year, really dive into college lacrosse. I'm still pretty tuned into that. I love, turning on the box on Saturday morning, getting a slate of college games shoved in my face. So I love that. Can't wait to dive into that. And
well, the beauty of our sport is it never ends, because the pro game, the college game, the high school game, the tournaments, the indoor game, like there's always some kind of lacrosse to talk about, which is really cool. And I know we wanted this to be a PLL centric podcast, but I mean, we got momentum right now. And I think one of the things that I would want if I was a fan of the PLL is I would love to have somebody break down exactly what I'm looking at off season. Say I'm a Chaos fan. What are they going to do with the roster? What are their draft picks next year? Who's making what, so I know who we can probably hold on to. That's what we're going to dive into next week. And then we're going to do a team-by-team breakdown. So every other week, we're going to have 2 teams that we're going to feature on here. And we're going to be breaking down exactly what we think their offseason roster movement should be. Then we're going to get into some indoor. And Sives, like you said, man, next thing you know, Happy New Year. We're going right into 2023, baby. So, yeah, I'm excited about the direction of this podcast. I'm excited to continue this thing.
Agreed. That's all
100%, guys. That's all you got, Scotty? That's all you got? Agreed?
That's it, brother. That's it, bro. The Giants are playing. The Giants are playing the Cowboys. I love you guys. I'm good.
But we got to go. All right. Well, with that, we'll let Scotty cheer on his G-men. I know they're 2-0, but I don't think they're very good.
Worst 2-0 team in the history of the NFL. Let's go.
Well, with that, guys, that wraps up episode 12 of Rise Up, the podcast. Thank you again to Torch Pro. If you're listening on Apple, subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify, subscribe to our Rise Up podcast. And if you're watching our pretty faces on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Torch Pro YouTube channel.
If we get like 5,000 subscribers, I'll tattoo Rise Up on my body.
Subscribers.
There we go.
So I could.
You heard it here.
Where are you gonna get Rise Up tattooed?
Yeah, do you have any room left on your arms, Scotty? Come on.
It's going on my neck, my ass, or my thigh.
There you go.
Cool.
There you go, fellas. Well, that's the show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night, fellas.
To the moon.
To the moon.